You ever play hide and seek? Set 15 years after the events of the 1979 movie, Alien Isolation is a survival horror immersive sim kind of thing set on Sevastopol Station, a recently decommissioned space truck stop that's got a little bit of a problem. We play as Amanda Ripley, daughter of the protagonist from the film franchise, who comes to Sevastopol to recover the Nostromo's recently discovered flight recorder and uncover exactly what happened to her mother. First and foremost, this game's art direction is incredible. The graphics were fantastic in 2014, they still hold up in the early 2020s, at least on PC. The frame rate dips at the cutscenes, but otherwise I can't say a bad thing about how this game looks. The original movie had an amazing design sense that this game's developers have lovingly recreated. As a fan of the franchise, just being here is pretty awesome, especially when visiting locations from the movie. The gameplay, on the other hand, is a bit more to pick at. It heavily focuses on stealth, with several tools to craft that are useful as distractions to keep hostiles looking in the wrong direction. There's only like 4 or 5 kinds of enemies depending on how you count, but they're all used pretty well. Most obviously is the alien, who is pursuing you through most of the game, relentlessly. Although their vision isn't the best, they have extremely strong senses and sometimes feel like they come out of nowhere. It uses a sort of multi-vantaged AI that remembers how you, the player, manage to get through sections of the game. Because of this, the alien is sort of able to predict what you're going to do. At the beginning of the game, I was able to trick the alien by doubling back and going around it. In the middle of the game, the alien started doing that to me. This is pretty cool, but can be a little frustrating, especially during the first half of the game, when the chase definitely outstays its welcome. Eventually though, you get more comfortable using your items and alternating strategies. If a slow methodical approach isn't working, you might be able to get away with just tossing a flashbang one direction and YOLOing towards the other. I actually enjoyed the sections focusing on the working Joes more than the alien. These are buggy maintenance robots that patrol the Sevastopol, specifically places that are off limits to civilians. They'll respond by force if they see you. Far from harmless, these guys are less threatening than the alien, and I really loved messing with them. They're slow and funny, but watch out for the ones wearing windbreakers. The level design is awesome, offering several alternate paths and hiding spots throughout the deceptively linear stages that evolve or degrade as you revisit with different goals. It's never painful to navigate, but fun to explore. Along with the AI, it rewards flexibility. Amanda's an engineer, with a fitting arsenal. At first I felt like it wasn't the most intuitive when I should be using items, but you get so many resources that my inventory was maxed out through most of the game. Once I started eating pipe bombs and noisemakers like they were nothing, things got a lot more fun. These tools are very plentiful, useful, and you don't really need to think about them very much. Something else you don't need to think too much about is how original these mechanics are. They're not, but they're very polished, and they help the game have its own identity adjacent to its source material. Unlike the story, which is, serviceable? Amanda was a character already established in the universe, and I appreciate expanding her, but in this case it feels like a cheap way to make the character emotionally invested in the plot that never does anything new with her or the rest of the universe. The characters don't really do very much besides their jobs. This is like the 1979 movie, but it gets muddy once you're suddenly expected to care about them. There's some world building inside of terminals and audio logs scattered around, but aside from the backstory regarding the setting, most of it is forgettable or repetitive, and it feels dumb to be reading someone else's emails while being stalked by an apex predator. Now, this isn't even the latest in a giant list of Alien games. The first one was a Pac-Man clone. Most of them really aren't that bad, but this is an Alien game. It hits all of the notes I'm looking for as a fan, looks great, plays great, it even got the original cast to reunite for DLC that lets you play as their characters through portions of the movie. Alien Isolation is a loving homage made by developers you probably wouldn't expect. It's impressive, and I'm extremely glad to have experienced it. There's a few annoyances here and there, but this game is a blast, and anyone into survival horror or Alien should definitely check this out. I give it a ambience.
Subscribe for more.